Welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Matthews, and we're here day 2 at the CMPX show, and I have my good friend, Andy Hughes, the VP of Sales from Interplay Learning. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here in Toronto, meet you face to face. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. So I know Interplay through Brian Donovan, who is now the global sales director. Is that correct?
Indeed, yep.
Yeah, so we go back about 4 or 5 years because I really liked what you guys were doing then, the virtual technology, the virtual training, the simulation training. I want to really get into that and talk about how training, like technology, is changing the game of education and training. But first, let's find out about Andy. How did you evolve in Interplay? Because you guys are blowing up now.
We are blowing up. It's been
Love it.
crazy. It's been quite a ride. So I've been on about 2.5 years, and
Wow.
I've been in the software industry for about 15 or 20 years, and when I look for my next opportunity, I want to find things that are going to really make an impact. And I think every software company, especially in the SaaS business, they have their own story about how they stroke the greater good. They help the world get better. And to be honest, I felt like there was a point in my career where that was a lot of lip service.
Yeah.
And so for my next opportunity, I really wanted to find something that had the impact to change the world and to, truly, leave a legacy. And Interplay Learning is, giving people opportunities that they never had before. And we really can impact the industry, get more people excited about the trades, use cool, sexy technology to do
Yeah.
it. We make learning fun. How
Yeah.
often do you have a technician come and say, like, hey, can I take that training home with me?
Yeah.
And that's what we're hearing from the technicians, asking to take their VR headsets home, and the deep engagement, the training for the joy of getting better is what
Yeah.
we're seeing.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, tell me a little bit the evolution of Interplay and how did it go from the basic training to the simulation to the virtual training, which I believe is going to be huge right when we get into the metaverse and stuff. Like, it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
I know.
So when we first started as a company, we were actually building simulations for an education company.
Okay.
And then the education company was selling them to schools and to trade schools.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got us into the HVAC business. And what we found is these students who would use our training at a trade school would go out into the workforce, tell their bosses, hey, this amazing training got me ready to, get out in the field. Those folks would call us and we'd say, oh, well, we don't sell it. Call this education company.
Yeah.
And the education company would send them an order form with, who's your superintendent, what,
Yeah.
and there wasn't a fit. So our CEO at that point said, we want to really make an impact in the trades. We want to solve the skills gap, and we don't think we can do it through education. We wanted to go straight to the employers who were having trouble finding skilled technicians, having trouble keeping a real career path for folks in the industry. Obviously a lot of issues just with the aging of the industry and the folks who are retiring, and the lack of perceived interest from the younger folks. And so this was something that our CEO, Doug, wanted to go head on at.
Yeah.
And he knew that technology, and especially virtual reality, could cross that gap and really give students who wanted to be, find an opportunity to build their own business and be entrepreneurs, a path to do it that wasn't a 4-year college.
Yeah.
And so as we started building simulations and understanding the power of our training, it just continued to evolve. And it's just amazing to me when you think about the different ways that our technology can apply to the world. And what we're doing in the trades thrills me, and it's going to change the industry and it's going to continue to evolve. But the potential that this type of technology has for just the world and the greater
Yeah.
good, and taking people that don't have skills and giving them an opportunity to learn something sitting on their couch.
Yeah.
There's so many variables that keep people from pursuing what they want to pursue. And this type of technology can remove so many of those variables.
Awesome. Let's talk about, you were talking about a career path. So that's really interesting because I talk about that a lot. Like, to contractors and technicians, you really need to take your career in your own hands and either develop your own career path, or the contractor themselves need to build a career path for their technicians. What does Interplay do to really help with that career path?
Well, frankly, we completely changed the process because I think historically so many companies became comfortable with promoting people and giving people raises based on tenure.
Yeah.
And you just don't know if somebody could be there 5 years, but that could mean they're doing it wrong for 5 years and
Yeah.
teaching other people the wrong skills. And I heard in one of your earlier podcasts just talking about that trust of where you're learning the information from, and knowing that you're giving somebody the right tools from the very beginning. And so that's really what's driven us.
Yeah, and I really, for me, it's definitely a career path, not just another job.
And we're able to now promote people and give people raises on real skill acquisition. Like, what can you do for the company? What kind of problems can you solve for customers?
Yeah.
Those customers, those issues turn into dollars for the company. And when you can solve more problems for customers, you're a more valuable employee.
Yeah.
So as you grow and you add skills, it makes a lot more sense to be able to promote people and give people raises and build careers based on true skill acquisition and the ability to help, solve more problems for your customers.
Yeah, I love that competency-based training.
Yep.
It's so important because I've got into the trap before where I'm excited to get my next raise, and then I become fully licensed, and then 4 or 5 years, 6, 7 years in the trade, and then I'm working alongside people that are 10, 12 years, and they don't have the competency because their career path, they didn't have the opportunity, didn't have a mentor or a coach.
Yep.
And it's really a way that we can start encouraging, especially the younger generation, about cool, sexy technology that you can learn your career at, and then test your skills before you get out in the field.
Well, what's really been interesting is obviously we're a great fit for entry level, like getting people going in the industry. And you put somebody on a learning path who doesn't have a lot of skills, and it's a pretty straightforward process. You start with the basics and you build skills from there. But then you have this other contingent of folks that is already in the field. They're already tenured. They feel like, I don't need training. I've been doing this for 5 years, and what we find, they have a lot of gaps too. But they're not always willing to raise their hand and say, like, hey, I haven't seen that in 10 years.
Yeah.
I haven't done that before. And so, something that our technology helps them do is identify where those tenured folks have those gaps.
Yeah.
And then we can deliver training only in the areas where they have shown some deficiency. And so we're not asking those tenured folks to start from scratch and build skills from the base level up, but let's start just where you need the training and only train you in the areas that we know are going to add value to you and the company. And it's amazing how much training is still needed amongst that tenured group.
So how is that done? And would that be like a skill assessment test? How is it done?
Yep, that's exactly right. So we have different ways to gauge where somebody's at. It starts with a skill assessment, which is a test that they take.
Yeah.
It focuses on 10 areas of core competency, and it scores them on those areas. And so it highlights exactly what areas of competency they excel in, what they don't, and then our algorithm and our tool automatically suggests courses
That's amazing.
to fill in those gaps so that those tenured folks aren't wasting their time with entry-level beginner stuff. And so that's on the front side. We also have simulations that are built to assess skill in a way where we're putting somebody in a virtual service call, and we get to watch every step that they take. And when they're done, we're able to go back and grade and understand where they skipped a step, where they could have been more efficient.
Yeah.
And so it's taking people that have been doing sort of the same process for a long time and showing them, like, hey, there is actually a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Like, you're not wrong. You're not doing it incorrectly, but there might be a better, faster way to do it. And so, our subject matter experts put their heads together. And it's interesting because we hear so often from customers, like, we don't do it that way. We do it this way. And they're not wrong, and we're not wrong. So what we've done is we've taken the smartest people that we can find in the industry, and we've had them find the most efficient ways to solve problems. And so those efficiency paths are what we present to our customers, so we know that this is the fastest. It's sort of like scientifically proven. This is the fastest way to identify that problem without skipping steps. And so we're trying to teach those core skills to both people coming up in the industry as well as people that may not have had the opportunity to learn it right the first time.
Yeah, and I love that. So you're teaching them on their competency, not wasting their time on things that they already know. And what is the feedback you're getting from the contractor or the business owner taking this approach? What have you been seeing over the last few years?
Well, I mean, in terms of results, we're seeing less callbacks,
Wow.
right? They're able to send the right person to the right job because now they understand what skill sets exist on their team. So when they
Yeah,
get a call in, they understand what kind of skill set they need to send out to solve the problem the first
I love
time.
that.
They don't have to send out three people. They don't have to send out somebody inexperienced who, is going to call and take up the time of somebody and, end up taking two people's hourly wage. So it's efficiency, it's longer careers.
Yeah.
We're seeing less turnover because
Hmm.
we're presenting an opportunity to, get that raise here. You don't have to go down the street for it.
Yeah.
You want to raise and you want to move your career path forward. We can show you exactly how to do it. It's right here. If you do this, you will earn more money. And it's a
Yeah.
very clear learning path. They know exactly what's expected of them, and so it creates a lot of visibility and a lot of confidence, from those contractors to really know what they're dealing with.
Yeah, and I really like that because that's showing them and them, validating the technician as well as validating the leader of the company that this is what we need to work on and build on and help them grow because I really believe building a culture around training in the organization is the most important fundamental thing in really any business, not only refrigeration and HVAC, but that is so important. So there are quite a few like other technology companies out there that are simulation based. What differentiates Interplay Learning compared to those other technologies?
That's a good question. To be honest, when it comes to sim-based technology, I think where we really have a huge advantage on the market is the breadth and size of our catalog.
Oh, yeah.
So across HVAC, electric, plumbing, appliances, solar, we've got deep catalogs from beginner all the way up to advanced. We use both videos to teach and to educate,
Yeah.
and then simulations to practice. And
Love
I think
that.
when you put all that together, um, and also I think it's a part of partnering with the company because one
Yeah.
thing that we're not bold enough to say is that we don't want to replace the on-the-job training and the hands-on training that has to happen. We want to encourage that because that complements what we do.
Yeah.
And if we can get somebody more prepared to go, work in a lab by getting to practice it over and over, then the efficiency that you have in taking people through apprenticeship programs is spectacular
Yeah.
because those variables of classroom time and lab equipment and instructor availability, all those go away when you're able to log in and do, that training from your couch.
Yeah. So what is the percentage of like businesses getting into Interplay or individuals? Are you seeing an uptake of individuals themselves?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of different kind of lines of business that are very similar but distinctly different in how people are getting value from the platform. So I think our primary focus, started off in the average HVAC company, the 10, 20, 50 person company that just needed to build skills, needed to find more people to hire.
Yeah.
And so that's always been sort of the bedrock of our business. To be honest, we didn't really invest in trying to build out the individual path.
Yeah.
We had a kind of a feeling that there would be some interest.
Yeah.
It has far surpassed our expectations. By just kind of sitting back and watching it, we're seeing people, sign up for monthly accounts and stay with us year over year, constantly learning. Some of our highest point earners, are individuals who are just trying to make themselves better, put themselves in a position to truly help themselves. And so it's inspiring to see. We have case studies of people who moved to America with nothing, used our software and built an HVAC company from scratch and are now wildly successful.
Wow.
And it's reality, like it's really happening. It wasn't just this thought and this, abstract thing that we thought we could do, but
Yeah.
it's happening. And so the individual business has been phenomenal. We're also selling to multifamily organizations, which
Nice.
frankly kind of came as a surprise. We weren't focused on approaching the multifamily industry. And what we found is those technicians, the technicians that are serving an apartment complex, they need basic skills in HVAC, electric, plumbing, appliances. And so, that became a really, really hot area for us. And then most recently, workforce development has, just shot through the roof. The idea of getting more people involved in the skilled trades, educating folks that don't have skills and getting them job ready. And that's really what's driving the international expansion that we're seeing. And that's why Brian, has found himself into an international sales role. And it's coming to us. People are looking for it. And it's something that it's a big reason that we're here in Canada today. We're looking to understand how we can serve this market as well as we've served the U.S. market. And we're not naive enough to think that we're just going to plug in the same product.
Yeah.
We're respectful of the fact that there's differences.
Amazing.
And we want to address those differences and give the technician in Canada the same feeling and experience that they're dealing with a real life scenario.
Yeah. So something that caught my attention earlier when you said a point system. Why don't you talk about the point system and what is that? How valuable is that to the software and to the programs?
It's really cool seeing how technicians get so competitive with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we assign points just for completion of activities. So when folks are watching videos, taking knowledge checks, passing courses, earning certificates, they're able to earn points. And it's amazing what we see because you'll see service managers break people into teams and start competing, and they're giving away really cool prizes, and they're giving away new tools, they're giving away trips, they're giving away gift cards, and it's just the smallest things will motivate people, and they want to prove that they're in this for the long haul, and so a lot of it's sort of intrinsic also, that motivation of just I want to see my name at the top because that's showing my organization that I want to invest in myself. I want to learn.
Awesome. I do have an analytical question because I'm seeing more and more older people get into the industry, plus 30, more women getting in the industry. What is the demographics of Interplay? How is that looking? Is it a lot of younger people? Or is like older people taking to these?
They are, absolutely.
Awesome.
So we built it in a way to be easy to use. The UX and just the user experience is paramount. We're typically not dealing with the type of end user who has a lot of experience using software programs, and that's frankly whether they're young or they're more tenured in the industry. There's just not that much technology adoption. So we've built it in a way that's easy to understand. It feels familiar, and so from an adoption perspective, we're seeing both young people and older people have absolutely benefited. The truth is, when you think about the next generation of technology is a big part of it, right? These are folks that grew up playing video games with cell phones in their hands, and they expect that technology experience, And when they go to an employer who can offer them training in virtual reality that's fun to do versus sit in a classroom for 7 hours and expect you're going to learn something from that, we're seeing really great response from those students. And we're seeing it here, at the conference as we walk around and talk to students and show them what we're doing. They're like, I want to find a school who does that. Yeah. And it's pushing the schools to be more aggressive and to really think outside the box of how they want to do it. One other thing that I'll add, and this was incredibly powerful for us as an organization to see. So we've just recently gotten into selling to public libraries.
Awesome.
And so public libraries have a very distinct effort going on right now around workforce development, using community resources to bring people in, get them trained, get them job ready. And what we found at one of the first libraries that we sold to is 70% of the people who completed the courses were women.
Awesome.
And so we had folks from 16 to 70 that came in to do courses at the library. Reasons like, I've owned my own properties for so long and I have to pay an HVAC company to come out every time something happens. I just want to be able to understand a little bit of that on my own. To the woman who wants to start her own HVAC business because she's seen success all around her, and it's like, why can't I do the same thing?
And I really like that, is helping educate the end user as well if they want. Because I think that's very, very important, that when an end user has an issue, they can talk to you, and when you talk to them, they understand. Because that's one of the big things about our industry is soft skills, and I think that's really hard to learn. But when you talk to someone who has a bit of knowledge, it makes the conversation a bit easier.
Well, and I think what everybody has to understand is training is not just content, right? It's not just watch a video and learn, but let's watch a video and then let's talk about it. Let's ask questions, let's deep dive into some things. And so, again, we're not naive enough to think that we're going to replace the whole training paradigm with just virtual self-led training. We want to engage with managers, and so a lot of the things that we're thinking about in the future of our technology is how do we get more of a group mentality, right? So multiplayer in virtual reality is going to blow the industry away. If you just think about your underperforming tech in 4 different regions all being able to join a virtual call together, stand next to an instructor who's 3 states away, and consistently show them the right way to do things. There's just so much work we have to do. It's so exciting.
And that's what really intrigued me about Interplay, because when I first was introduced to virtual reality in the refrigeration space, it was blowing my mind, because I could pull a compressor bar and see every component in there, and then I could ask questions. Well, what is this component? Why is it in there when you couldn't before unless you tore it apart? And really at that point you wouldn't even do that in the field, but when you're able to really dissect a component, it totally changed the game of your knowledge.
Oh, not just that, but think about the safety implications, right?
100%.
Safety and cost, just the cost of maintaining a lab where you have to buy equipment just so you can break it and break it over and over again. We can do that virtually. Why are you investing in hardware and equipment when we can create that same exact experience and allow people that lab experience from anywhere they are at any time?
And I love that, the safety component. They can go work on it virtually. They can see and understand the safety procedure. I'm assuming that when you do something wrong, it'll
let
tell
you know.
And then when you get actually back into the actual lab at the school, and you have to do the practical, that you already have those hands-on skills.
Well, and not only that, but it's also sending that same information to your instructor. So your instructor now knows kind of what to watch out for. Everybody's got their own blind spots, and when your instructor can understand where your blind spots are, I don't think folks are generally very aware of their own blind spots a lot of times. And so when an instructor can look in and see that and be able to focus in on specific issues with specific students, I think we close a lot of gaps.
Yeah, and I really like that. I really like being able to give that instructor the understanding of where that student is. Because a lot of times they'll do a test or an assignment, and then they can grade the assignment, but did that student understand that assignment itself, or did they understand the quiz? And then you have to go through all these different quizzes where you probably have it where it's all compiled, and you can I'm sure there's some sort of AI that'll tell them, okay, we need to work on this area of HVAC or refrigeration a bit harder, electrical, whatever it is.
Absolutely. And what you see is, I think it's natural for humans to try to take advantage of whatever kind of like get there the fastest and easiest way. And so a lot of times with e-learning, because it's self-led, you see people try to manipulate it, and they'll do the same course over and over and over until they can just answer exactly the right questions. Like, look, I got 100%. And that can fool a lot of people. Like, hey, this person got 100% on everything they did, but your instructor can see that you did that 64 times to get that 100%. And so without you telling them, you've identified where the issues are and where you want to spend some time.
Yeah, and exactly. I like that, because I've learned that probably about 7 or 8 years ago when I was going through, and I've done a test, and then I had to go through it again, and then I did it 3 times, and then I finally got the 90 that I had to pass, and then I asked them, like, how does this work? I did it 3 times. They're like, here, so we know you did it. You did it 3 times. You got a 70 on it the first time. You got an 80 on it the second time. You got a 90 on it the third time. And we could tell how long you did it. You only spend 15 minutes or 35 minutes or an hour or 6 hours, and it's really good, which opened up my eyes to really invest more time to try to understand it. Because there are some times I've done like different things, WMIS for an example here. You got to do it year over year. So it's like after 5 years, I'm just clicking all the buttons going through it, but I should spend the time and really read it. But it gave me the idea of that when I'm doing this online training, that I need to spend the time and really understand the stuff, and that's what it sounds like Interplay's been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand that simulations are muscle memory and practice, but there's still a fundamental need to teach people things. And so we've invested a significant amount of money in hiring the right learning professionals who can build this training in the best way to really drive training results. So we're not just smart HVAC people who are putting together HVAC content, but we're really taking an educational approach to teach people in the way that they need to learn to truly retain the information and be able to practice it. And I think that shows when they go on the job. And it shows from our feedback of our instructors who are using it in the classroom, and from our owners of businesses. It's changing the game for everybody.
Yeah, and it even sounds like because everybody learns differently, but it sounds there's multiple ways on Interplay to do that. Can you talk about how Interplay teaches different people different ways to learn?
Of course. So if you think about it, some people are going to react really strongly to words on paper. The analytical mind is just going to take it and synthesize it, and that's not me. You put words on a screen in front of me, and it's not gonna stick, right? Then you add in some animations to that, and you add in a little bit of like engagement to pull the learner in, and then you start to trade out. Instead of animations, now we're going to live equipment, and so these are still slides, and this is still a video, but now it's videos of real equipment with a real subject matter expert walking you through it.
Yeah.
And so it appeals to that person who wants to see it. But then we're also following it up with an exam, so the person who needs to read it and really synthesize it by seeing the words can still do that. And then, of course, you have the folks that need to do it, right?
Yeah.
I need to actually move my body and feel it, and I need to get on my knees and crouch down and see where that is. And so we give them that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and that's what I really like. I've been playing around with the software for many years, and I really like, personally, for me, is that simulation-based training. I'm still working on my electrical, getting better at electrical year over year, and I've spent years, 17, 18 years doing electrical, but it's nice to go in and just even test my skill after even all the years I've been doing it, just to go and test it out, try it out. Okay, I'm working on this packaged unit, okay? It's different than what I've ever seen before, but get in there, putting the meter on there and checking the voltage across it and check if there's any power and going through those simulations. That's really what really intrigued me about Interplay.
It's also interesting, though, because, every day we're showing customers our product and asking them for feedback. And, a lot of times we'll find ourselves in a situation where somebody says, like, hey, I want to see the power of your training. Like, show me what I'm going to learn. And the simulation isn't it. The simulation's amazing.
Yeah.
It's muscle memory, it's practice, it's breathtakingly fun. Like, it's just an awesome training tool. But that's not necessarily the bulk of the training. That's you practicing, right? The bulk of the training is our subject matter experts truly teaching you what you need to know and then letting you apply that and show it through the simulation. So while the simulations are so much fun and they are very powerful, a lot of that learning comes from also the videos and sort of the bedrock of you have to be able to identify components. You have to be able to understand how things work before you go start troubleshooting, because otherwise you're just going to be changing out parts, waiting to see which part's going to make it fire up again, unless you truly understand the refrigeration cycle and understand what's happening behind the scenes. And we allow you to really get your head in there and see that.
Yeah, I love that. And it's really, I've been training for years, and it always goes back to the fundamentals. And I've seen that, lots of that, you guys really do a good job on that in Interplay. What advice would you give to like technicians out there, either newer technicians or even companies out there, about training and education in like the new way of learning?
Lifelong training. Lifelong learners are going to get ahead. The folks that think that they're going to go through a trade school, immediately hit the field and be done training and done learning, and they're off to make money, it's a very naive way to think about building a career. And so I think really embracing learning as a way to not just pass a test, but to truly put yourself in a position to own your own destiny. Like it's very realistic for a kid who's thinking his senior year about what he wants to do with his life. He's not sure. He's played video games the last 10 years. He's not wanting to go to business school. He doesn't have interest in college. We can put that person on a track to own their own business by the time they're 30 and create. It's just amazing what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
And the way I came to this, the way I it's actually funny, the way my aha moment here at Interplay, it wasn't in the trades, it wasn't in workforce development, it was the most random situation that really made me see the power of what we could do and how we could impact the world. It was while I was interviewing for the job, my CEO, Doug Donovan, was working with this cheese slicing company. Okay, it was such a random example. And this cheese slicing company, or this cheese company, their competitive advantage was their cheese slicer was better than everybody else's, so they could slice thinner slices with less waste, thus saving everybody in the whole supply chain money, right? So they sold a lot of cheese, but they had to bring all their executives out to this warehouse to see their cheese slicer so that they could have that moment of like, oh yeah, we want to work with you.
Yeah.
So what they did is they built that cheese slicer in virtual reality. And instead of flying 10 executives in, they send off a headset. And everybody puts this headset on, and now you're standing in front of this cheese slicer and you're seeing the power.
Yeah.
And it was that moment where I just thought, the sky's the limit for this kind of technology. There's so much we can do. Any sort of technical process can be made better by just practice.
Yeah. And that's really what got me to 4 or 5 years ago is when I was doing this. I had the headset on and I'm thinking, what if I could do this with 100 people around the world all at the same time, and I can instruct them and teach them hands-on instead of me flying all over the world or hiring a whole bunch of teams to save that contractor a pile of money or the technician. Because when I worked at Coben, we had people flying from all over the world to come to the training center to do the training. Now with this type of technology, with my refrigeration mentor business, I could work with someone like you, and then I could train virtually all these different technicians on different technologies, and it would be like we're together like this.
Oh, and that's another use case that we're capitalizing on. So we're working with the manufacturers, most of the largest manufacturers in the industry, and what we're doing is we're building their newest technology in these simulations. So instead of having to send teams of trainers out across the country to show people what this new technology looks like and what this component looks like when it's malfunctioned, we're now able to do that with a web address.
Yeah.
Access this web address and you're going to get every single step of how to diagnose issues.
Yeah.
It's
I love
saving
that.
people a lot of money, a lot of travel, a lot of time.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for me. Like, I got a family, so if I have to fly to California for a training, it's me one day there, a couple days training, one right on a whole week. When I could do that training in the evening at my house.
Well, and
you know
if
what I mean?
If you think about the 30-year technician who still has to keep up with their licensing, that's time away from their family. That's time away from their business. That's spending money to go sit in a classroom and, frankly, probably retaining very little of the information that they're being forced to go through. If you're going to spend the time to do it, why don't you learn something?
Yeah.
Why don't you really take advantage of it? We can, like you said, you can earn those ongoing credit hours from your couch. When you want to do it. We had a funny marketing campaign that was all about do it while you're in the bathroom. We built all of our training to be in like 5 to 10 minute chunks. Like, do it when you have time.
Yeah.
And we know technicians don't have time. They don't want to sit down for 2 hours and do training. They want to be out in the field. So let's let them train when they have time to train.
Yeah.
When they have 5 minutes in the truck before they need to get somewhere else, they can knock out a video. They can knock out some knowledge, drive those continuing education credits without really even thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So what's next for Interplay? Like, what's the future? Where are you guys going? Because I know there's a lot of cool technology out there, and I'm seeing more and more stuff that's going to be like you're actually on the equipment. So what's going on? Let's hear
absolutely.
about the future.
So from a virtual reality perspective, multiplayer is
Yep.
definitely top of mind for us. The idea of a mentor participating in the training. Think of, you've seen our training simulation. So think of being in a training simulation, and when you get to a certain step, your boss pops up as an avatar and says, typically you do it like this, but because we're up in the Northeast and we see a lot of snow, it's actually a little bit different here. So we do it this way. And so being able to add in that tiny bit of customization that we do it a little bit differently here. That's kind of the next step for us, is how do we get humans involved in this training in a virtual world, and it comes through multiplayer. So that's kind of what we're looking at on the virtual reality front. As a business, though, we're going global.
Nice.
We've signed contracts in South Africa to work with the South African government to provide workforce development for 50,000 people that are looking to get skilled in the trades and get jobs. And that's exactly what we're looking to replicate across the world.
Awesome. Probably for the mentor popping up, it probably should be refrigeration mentor popping up to teach them.
It might.
Yeah. Awesome. Any final thoughts?
No, I just really appreciate being here. It's been amazing to see how much the training landscape has changed in just the last couple of years, how COVID contributed to it. Prior to COVID, I think this was still our destiny.
Yeah.
But COVID, I think, really shook people up a little bit and made them think like, what if, what if we can't get together when we want to get together? How are we going to keep our business running? How are we going to keep people educated? And it sort of forced them to try something new. And there was a little bit of a concern. I'm the head of sales, and I care about that initial sale, but I also care about my company's renewing. And so there was a little bit of fear in me that we would sell to folks during COVID and that they would see it as a short-term solution. And once we were sort of out of the woods, they would go back to the old way. And we're just not seeing that at all. We're seeing just the opposite. People are seeing the power of it, they're embracing it, and they just want more.
Awesome. So if you're a technician, an individual, or a contractor, how do they get a hold of you, or how do they get a hold of Interplay?
Yep, you got it. InterplayLearning.com. We've got amazing marketing and business development teams. You're able to go to the website and select that you want to see a demo. To be honest, if you leave your name anywhere, we're going to get to you. We've got an aggressive sales team that is trying to spread this message and get it to as many people as we can. So come to the website, visit us on social. We've got a blog. I think that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Andy, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
It is my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to Andy Hughes, the VP of Sales of Interplay Learning, and myself. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell for any time I release new videos, as well as in the description below, there's an affiliate link. And if you click on the affiliate link, you enter your name and your details, someone from Interplay Learning will reach out to you. And if you decide to purchase some of their great simulation courses down the road, I will receive a small commission.